guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new IDontWorkHereLady content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled, Pulling Your Phone Out When You're Working is Against Company Policy. Lady, I'm 14. A bit of context. This was back in January of this year. I had just turned 14. The funny thing is my birthday is on January 1st. The amount of people with my birthday. You could probably count them on your hands. I think at this point I was 5 feet 11 with a visible beard. I had people mistake me most of the time for a 16 or 17-year-old. Now my birthday had just passed. My parents are not the best with presents, so they just gave me money. So I went on the weekend to chill with my friend. It was like 12 p.m. we went out to eat, and my friend started talking about how he wished he could get a PC. Now me and him are close. I go to his house most days of the week. 3 to 4 times. Sometimes I stay over, we're basically brothers. I call his parents auntie and uncle. Same with him. He comes to my house, stays. We even have rooms in each other's houses. Now, he was born 4 days after me. I really wanted to get him something really nice. So he said, let's go chill at my house. So I call an Uber, not to his house. It was to PC World. We get halfway there and he clocks what is happening. He says this isn't the way to my house. I assure him that we are going to do something very fun. Then he sees PC World and he asks, why are we here? I tell him it's an early birthday present. I had to give it to him early as I couldn't go on a school day. So I tell him, get anything you want. He goes mad, he tries to reject, but we all know how that turns out. So we are both in the shop and I recommend him something and tell him where it is. He goes to get it. I hear a lady clearing her throat. I turn around and she asks me where something is. I say I don't know. I then turn around assuming that was the end of that. She then starts ranting about how I need to follow company policy and not pull out my phone when talking to customers. The next thing she did shocked me. She lunged and grabbed my arm. Now the human reaction is to push her off. Now I'm 5 feet 11 and she was around 5 feet 5 at most, and she went flying into the PCs. There was a loud alarm that went off. One monitor fell on the floor and it smashed. Security came running to the scene. So did my friend. Now my friend is a little bit scared of confrontation, so he didn't do anything. I think he was more scared than me. She was screaming about how I assaulted her and that I pulled my phone out. She said I worked there. However, the manager shut her down instantly. It was very funny. I think the police got called in the mayhem. They then took both of our stories and started giving me dirty looks. They told me to call my parents, but I refused as I didn't want to drag them into it. But eventually the footage came and it was proven that she grabbed me first and I pushed her off. Eventually I had to give my name, but I was free to leave. The police did contact my parents. The good thing was the manager gave us a 20% discount. So that was good. The next story is titled, I do work here, but also I live here, and this isn't PetSmart Lady. Recently, I have begun a dog walking and pet sitting business that I run out of my house with express permission from my landlord. I've worked with animals for years and I'm grateful to finally be able to do it for a halfway decent living. That being said, I've been much busier than I anticipated, and as such I've been a little stressed about overextending myself. I even had a nightmare about forgetting that I had to watch a dog, and the dog was left alone at their house for several days. Even though it was just a nightmare, this prompted me to get more serious about my organization and scheduling so I wouldn't miss anything. Nowadays, my schedule is rock solid and I've been super on top of it. I only say that so you guys can understand the immense confusion I felt when my doorbell rang at 2 p.m. on Monday and I heard a dog barking outside. I get my dogs calmed down and answer the door. On my doorstep is an elderly woman, maybe 80 years old, holding a very cute West Highland Terrier. For anyone not familiar, they're the dog on the Cesar dog food package. I'm honestly so confused by her being there that my mouth does not form words. I just sort of stand there, opening and closing my mouth like a fish out of water, while my brain is just screaming, you forgot. You forgot. After a moment she graciously saves me from myself and talks first. I'll refer to her as Lol, for Lil Old Lady. Lol. Hello, I'm Lil Old Lady and I'm here to drop my dog off for boarding. At this point, I'm almost positive that my nightmares have literally come true and I have straight up deleted a dog from my short-term memory. But as I'm racking my brain, I cannot remember ever seeing this dog or woman before. Me. Hi, who is this little guy? Lol. This is Chico. I was hoping to leave him with you for the weekend while I visit my grandson. Okay. Hoping. That's an interesting word. Now I'm less anxious but more confused. Me. Okay? Have we spoken about Chico before? Lol. Oh, no. But your neighbor Laura said you watched dogs, so I just brought him over. Okay. Now this is making more sense. Laura was my previous neighbor who had recently moved out. I had watched her dogs dozens of times, and she was always very kind to give my name out to people who were looking for dog sitters. Sometimes, however, she did treat me as on call in the sense that she would call me as she was pulling out of her driveway to tell me she was leaving for the weekend and I would need to watch the dogs. She would play it off like she was so frazzled and forgot, but it started to get old after the third or fourth time. At this point, I have a lil old lady with her energetic dog on my porch, and still more questions than answers. So I invite her in while I try to get to the bottom of it. Come to find out, Lol was a friend of Laura's mother, whom I had never met. Laura had a couple of my business cards at her house, and apparently the last time her mother was visiting, she took a couple of them to give them to her friends. Apparently, Laura inherited her entitlement from her mother, as her mother told Lol I was available anytime for dog sitting. Literally anytime. Worse yet, because Laura was my next door neighbor, Laura's mom figured out my address and gave it to Lol. Because of that behavior, Lol had the impression that I was a dog boarding facility and she was just as confused as I was to arrive at a normal-looking house. After we got it all explained, Lol and I had a pretty big laugh about it. Lol was super apologetic and sweet, but I knew it really wasn't her fault, so there was no harm done from her. She was just a sweet old lady who got a little confused. Unfortunately, because I was already booked, I couldn't watch Chico. But good news. Lol determined she could just visit her grandson this weekend, and I went ahead and booked her for it. Chico and my dogs had plenty of time to socialize while Lol and I were chatting, and they were becoming fast friends. I think I may have just fallen backwards into a great client. Still, I was a little miffed, so I called Laura to please ask her mother to not tell people that they can just come by, anytime. Laura was legitimately confused as to why it was an issue. After a few minutes of going around in circles, I simply said I can't watch any dogs that I don't know and left it at that. While I wish that was the end of it, 2 days later, Wednesday, yesterday at the time of this post, Laura calls me to tell me she has just left her house, and could I please watch the dogs? I gently remind her that she had just moved 3 hours away and I was no longer her neighbor. She just gave a half-hearted oh and hung up. God bless her. The next story is titled "You Need to Plow My Driveway." This happened a few years ago, but I just remembered it from a post I just saw about snow. I was working for a construction company and it was the day after a blizzard. I was running a backhoe all around the town plowing the parking lots of the various buildings owned by the company. While driving down the road to the next lot, a woman ran out of her driveway and stood in the road right in front of me. I came to a stop since I couldn't just pass her since there was oncoming traffic. She said, "It took you damn long enough, now clear my driveway and be quick about it." I said that the company that I work for doesn't do driveways. She said, "You work for the town, now do your responsibility and clear my driveway." I said the town doesn't do driveways either, to which she said, "Shut up and do your job," to which I said, "Okay, I will," and with that I took off down the road while she stood there screaming. Later that day I ran into a buddy of mine who worked for the town and told him about this woman. He said that there was a town employee a few years back that was fired for plowing people's driveways for extra cash using town equipment while on the clock. She must have been one of his customers. Even still, the company I worked for had its name clear as day along the loader boom and the backhoe boom. The next story is titled "Lady Just Wanted Some Water." This just happened last night. I was at a stop and shop and in the water section where all the big heavy 24 packs are. An older lady called over to my wife and I. She looked like she was having trouble getting the waters into her cart. Her feeble flabby arms simply could not get the heavy pack up and over the edge. She was a little short and stocky. Anyway, she asked if we could help. Both my wife and I were confused for like half a second, turning around to see if there was an employee behind us. There was not. Sure. Okay. We helped her get 2x24 packs of water into her cart. She thanked us and walked away. Great work, us. Being good people. Then a thought occurred. If she couldn't lift it into her cart, how on earth was she planning on getting it out? We continued to shop as we debated her options. Maybe she'll buy some kind of lever. Maybe she'll ask an actual employee to follow her outside and load it up. Maybe she'll knock the cart over sideways and drag it out. Coincidentally, we finished shopping, and on our way to the car with an armful of groceries we spot this little old lady trying to flag down another random stranger to help her put the water into her car. We put our groceries in the car, walked over, and offered to help. The entire way home we wondered how she plans to get the water into her house. We didn't follow her home, but we duck and considered it. Like, just rolling up in her driveway and asking, "Hey, need some help?" The next story is titled, "I'm Moving, It's Not For Sale." Many years ago my wife, teen son and I were bringing some things out of our old house for the movers to load. On the 44-feet moving semi, with a prominent national name on the side. Unbeknownst to us, until the night before, our neighbor on the corner was having a garage sale. Have had small experience with a semi-rig. I went out and marked of no parking spaces so the truck could maneuver. Even with that I had to go out and guard the spaces about 7 a.m. even though the garage sale was not supposed to start until 9. They'd say, "Oh, we'll move." I'd say, "I can't afford to come looking for you as minutes count with these trucks. So if you give me your keys now so I can move it then." Or the sheriff said to remind folks, "This is the township, so there is no right of way on the properties on this street. So you're on private property, and I've already spoken to my neighbors about it." They left but got my neighbors to put their cars and we used ours in those slots. Because as soon as one left and we put the tape back up, another one would drive in. So the truck comes the ramp as down the movers are carrying our kitchen table up the ramp. Someone walking across our lawn to the yard sale asks them how much for the table. Follows them into the truck and goes, "Oh, 6 matching chairs. How much for the whole set?" The movers ask him nicely to leave the truck and ask the homeowner. He just walks in the propped open front door and starts looking into rooms going, "Hey, who owns this joint?" Scared, my wife and son just pointed to the family room. He comes in, I'm wearing a blue work shirt stained under the arms, it was hot and looked like one of the crew. He is like, "Where is the owner?" I said, "What did you need him for?" He says, "I want to buy that kitchen table and chairs and want to know what he would want for them." I said, $628, not a penny less. He said I could buy the on sale new at that price. I said, "Yep, I know." He said, "But you can't expect to sell them at a garage sale for that." "Yep, you're right. But we're not having a garage sale, we're moving." He says, "And this is your stuff?" "Yes, and I bought that chair and table about 5 months ago." "Man, you got a really good price." The next story is titled, "I'm Not Your Dealer Lady." I was telling a friend this story and they suggested that I post it on here. Because that crazy lady surely thought I worked for someone. So this is going to sound insane, but if you knew where I lived then you'd understand how common this actually is. Lol. So I'm a delivery driver for a popular food chain. I typically work the evening shift, closing shift. This happened roughly around 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. and I was on the last few deliveries before we had to start closing. I'm on my way back to the store and I typically take the back roads where there's less traffic because people in my town, although I'm sure it can be any town, are psychotic drivers. The back road I typically take right behind our store is especially dark, has little to no businesses around and no street lamps. Just to give you an idea of how sketchy this was to begin with. So I just passed through the stoplight to get onto this particular street and I'm right behind a car. As we're turning the corner to go down the particularly dark part of said road, the car slams on brakes and I nearly rear-ended it. Of course at this point I'm rather irritated and like, WTF. So after a couple of seconds and I've calmed down, I decide to go around this car to get to the store. The car starts driving again after I pass it. I don't think much of this, of course. That is until as I'm trying to turn into the driveway to my store they literally cut me off. Now I'm panicking and ready to call the cops. However, my window is down and I noticed that their window is down and they're trying to talk to me. Why I gave up on the idea of calling the cops I'm not even sure. I think deep down I knew not much would have gotten done even if they decided to show up. So, I realize this lady is asking if, insert random guy's name here, gave me the stuff to give her. I blink a couple of times and say, "Ma'am, who are you even talking about? I'm a delivery driver." This crazy lady responds, "Yeah, but did, random guy, send the stuff with you?" Remaining as calm as I possibly could, I told her again that I'm a delivery driver and made sure to clearly state the food store I work for. She finally realizes who I actually am, sees the uniform and all, and goes, "Oh, okay. My bad girl, have a good night." She then proceeds to throw her car in reverse and back up to the little dark corner where she first slammed on her brakes in front of me. I know how crazy this sounds, however, this is far more common than you might actually think around here. And it's not the first time at night that I've been mistaken for somebody else delivering something totally different than food. If you made it this far, thank you very much, I sincerely appreciate it. All of you do your best to stay safe, you never know who's out there. The next story is titled Getting Angry Customers at Home. So I work overnights and I come home when everyone else is going to work. Today I'm coming home after a very long 12 hours at work. I live on a really busy street, lots of traffic and pedestrians. It's not Main Street, but it might as well be. I recently moved in here, and it's a very nice 3-bedroom apartment at a super reasonable rate. I'm overall very excited to be living here, but there's one major downside: it's above a teeth whitening business. So far this has only meant that I have to be aware of noise when the woman who owns the business is downstairs with a client, since I'm home during everyone else's business hours, and she sometimes parks behind my car when I have to go somewhere, even though she's not supposed to use the driveway. Today I'm coming home, and a guy is walking by. As I'm walking up my front steps, he angrily calls to get my attention. At this point I'm dead tired, and my patience is hovering around 0. He says, "I've been trying to call you all week," and doesn't respond well to the visible confusion on my face. If you can't answer your phone, the least you can do is call people back. I'm still confused and ask why he would be calling me, because I'm exhausted and my last brain cells were used to not crash my car, so I can't put 2 and 2 together. He doesn't get it and just says, "I was gonna call you again today, but now you can't avoid me." I can't even form words anymore, so he just says, "You're the dentist lady, right?" Finally I understand and calmly say, "No, I just live upstairs," and he just walks away without another word or apology. I should also point out that I was wearing my uniform that is obviously not dental, as well as a name tag with the name of my employer on it, and everyone who lives here knows of my workplace, and it's very obvious looking at the house that people live there too. The next story is titled Double Act, Confused. This one still gives me pause. I went to a 24-hour service station and was surprised to find a large plastic tray of the sort bakers use to transport baked goods, lying in the driveway. I picked it up and went into the shop. Gets confusing here. Directly ahead of me was a guy fully enveloped by a ground-level display, so as his pants and shoes were the most visible things about him. I found this tray outside. I started, "I'm not working here, I'm a customer." Came back the disembodied reply. "Oh, goodo." I apologized, then I walked up to the counter where a guy was behind the register. Nearby was a short man doing something I couldn't make out at another display. I found this tray outside. "I'll leave it here," I said, propping it up against a wall. Register guy acknowledged me and short guy turned around to check it out, revealing a large mustache. Maximum confusion approaching. After getting my purchase, I became aware of the little man running off with the tray and leaping into a nearby bakery delivery truck I had somehow missed. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.